the Vikings in 2022 were reigning in a new regime. Head coach general manager duo Ken O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. That's the two names that were coming in and ringing the bell in 2022 as that new duo. Mike Zimmer finally out the window, along with Rick Spielman, to some people's surprise. But it was a new era for Vikings football. So that duo addressed a little bit of their needs last offseason on the defensive side of the ball and hoped that an offensive coach in Kevin O'Connell would ignite some better play out of quarterback Kirk Cousins. At least in 2022, when you talk about the regular season, good news for Vikings fans, Kirk had another productive season in which, despite having his usual Captain Kirk checkdown moments, Kevin O'Connell challenged him of taking more aggressive shots downfield, trying to thread the needle in some sort of way in that offense. And he actually did. Kirk accepted that challenge and in at least some ways succeeded. And as a result, Justin Jefferson had his best season yet in his third year, leading all receivers in receiving yards and receptions, and was the offensive player of the year. He was the key component in all the Vikings wins, alongside running back Dalvin Cook, second receiver Adam Thielen, and later addition tight end TJ Hawkinson. Unfortunately for the Vikings, here's where the bad news comes in. That offense did so well only because they were in a spot to do such. Why? Because of their nearly dead last defense. A passing defense that couldn't stop opposing receivers on both big and small plays, the inability to rush the quarterback or gain any pressure on the quarterback, and gave up a lot of points and put the Vikings in huge holes, whether it was single digit or double digit or maybe even triple digits deficits early and often. A large majority of these Vikings wins that happened in 2022 were either comeback wins or very close games. But you saw a troubling trend in just week 2 of that season against the Philadelphia Eagles, where you notice that when it came to the bright lights, this team shrunk against legitimate competition. Now, sure, you could say this offense would come to light. It would immediately come clutch against teams like the Lions, the Saints, and especially the Colts. And hell, I would say even the Bills. However, when they faced legitimate competition like the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, the Lions a second time, and the Packers a second time, their flaws defensively, and I could say even a little bit offensively too, they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. Especially one of those big flaws was on the offensive line. It was one of the worst in the league. Kirk Cousins got sacked a lot. And sometimes Kirk Cousins couldn't process the field properly. But I guess where we can give the Vikings some credit, it was their 2 big wins and their 2 statement wins of the season, in which they found a way to stun the Bills in week 10 and complete the largest comeback in NFL history. 33-0. I mean, yeah, it was against the choking Colts, but I mean, hey, you're in the history books, and they clinched the NFC North division title in that same game. So I remember I was watching that. I was at work, and it was like 32-0. Well, shit, this game's gonna be over. And then all of a sudden, like a couple hours later, it's like, wait, what the hell? How did the Vikings catch up in this game? So, yeah, at least for the Vikings, 2 big wins in that season. That being said, though, when it came to their playoff game against the Giants, their deficiencies were on display big time, especially on defense. Again, their inability to contain Daniel Jones on the run, mind you. The inability to stop any of their receivers. And the Vikings' own offense were capped on their opportunities. Minnesota, unsurprisingly, lost in the first round. And, yeah, it was not exactly I don't know if you can say a successful season for the Vikings because, well, yeah, they won 13 games, The problem is they won in with a lot of luck. It was a lot of luck for the Vikings to win those games in very close fashion. Had that luck not been there, they would have been a middling team. Really. So for the Vikings, there are a lot of questions to answer this offseason. They have to focus on the defensive side of the ball, which so far, they kind of have been doing, but not really. So far, looking at this offseason, they have released corners Byron Murphy. They signed corners Byron Murphy and Cameron Dantzler. Byron Murphy should be a solid corner addition in a secondary, which has been frequently torched. And adding to the pass rush is former Saints defensive end Marcus Davenport. So getting some help in that defense, which is very much needed with Aaron Smith. So definitely needed for the Vikings. However, some odd reason they released linebacker Darius Smith for reasons why he wanted to opt out of the Vikings. I don't know. They also released receiver Adam Thielen for cap reasons. So Adam Thielen, for the first time in 9 seasons, will be playing on a different team. And then they re-signed running back Alexander Madison and center Garrett Bradbury. So 2 key pieces on that offense in terms of Madison, a key backup for them. But the work shouldn't stop there, despite, the negative money that they have right now, the limited draft capital that they have. The Vikings obviously got to address the defense with the resources that they have. They need more help at corner. They need more help at linebacker. They need to address that interior defensive line because, they already fired their defensive coordinator, really immediately after the season ended. But the work shouldn't stop there. They already got their new defensive coordinator, but they need to get a lot more help adding depth at these key positions, corner, linebacker, and interior defensive line. Because this for as important as the offense is in this game, of course, you don't want to be stuck in a position where you're going to be one of the worst defenses again. And then now with Adam Thielen gone, well, you want to find another receiver opposite Justin Jefferson. Yeah, you have KJ Osborne, but of course, you want to have another receiving option. So Osborne and Jefferson don't get tangled up and double or triple teamed by other options on the opposite end of the field. So getting another receiving option for Kirk Cousins is kind of a priority for them. So despite going 13-4 and winning the division, in my opinion, not exactly an accomplishment for the Minnesota Vikings because, like I said, they won a lot of close games with a lot of luck. And as such, they were a very fraudulent playoff team because when they came to nut-busting time against legitimate competition, not to say that the Giants are a legitimate playoff team in 2022, but when it came to the bright lights against actual teams, they got their asses whooped. And they no-showed in that game against the Giants because, mostly due to their inability to play overall defense. So this rest of the offseason, they have to fix that problem. They already got a decent start on that, but they're going to have to do a lot more in the NFL draft next month. They do that, and they can avoid the disastrous defense and maybe stack up a little bit more legitimate wins in 2023, especially considering that the NFC North, with Aaron Rodgers potentially on his way out, but the Detroit Lions on the rise, and potentially the Bears slowly but surely creeping their way up. Be careful, Vikings. This division could be a little bit treacherous than you might imagine.